Chapter 4, Second Grade. Recess. Wise and Unwise Associations. Recess is an important part of the school day because it allows unused energy to be released while cultivating the energy necessary to focus throughout the rest of the day. Without recess and social time, students get restless and distracted when they should be using their energy to learn. Simply knowing that a recess is scheduled in their day gives positive energy to fuel and motivate a student to go from class to class, from 1 hour of study to the next. I feel it necessary to mention for the sake of all the tired and abused teachers out there. In a perfect world, this theory of recess anticipation and energy burn allows students to focus on the task at hand. In reality, many of you struggle throughout the day with keeping the class alert and interested. In recent years, new programs have been funded in the public school system to structure playground time with games and activities that encourage all children to participate in attempts to restrict bullying and ostracization of students. These groups, games, and activities are led by adults who have undergone training in leading the games and taking care to include every student. There are bad apples in every bunch, and despite great attempts at resolving so many issues such as childhood obesity, laziness, depression, and bullying, there is still a struggle with the students who refuse to play nice. What does any of this have to do with your marriage? There are so many similarities in my recess time theory that I may have to write another book on that topic alone. As adults, like children, it is imperative that we keep a goal in sight that we actively pursue in order to sustain happiness and common ethics with our spouse. It is well known that some of us are self-motivated while others desperately need a constant reminder and leader, boss, or playtime coordinator to keep us moving in the right direction and with the right people, the good apples, participating in our activities. My favorite example for adult motivation is setting a vacation date in your calendar and using it as a reward for accomplishing other goals prior to taking the vacation. So as a student who may miss out on recess to clean a classroom or sit in detention because they were not on task or participating in activities counterproductive to their success in school, we can schedule recess in our lives as a reward system for productivity and accomplishment. We may even enlist ourselves to time in detention, a time refraining from eating out, traveling, or shopping in order to get back on track with goals and ensure our financial health and life stability. It is normal for you and your spouse to have different ideas of what the perfect reward may be. In fact, it's almost a given that you are married to your opposite, and as a result, have opposite interests with regard to what leisure time well spent may look like. Instead of allowing your opposing desires to cause tension, make it a point to take turns enjoying together each other's individual interests. One of you may want to take a snowboard trip to Alaska while the other wants to go surfing in Australia. Don't let your opposite attractions discourage you from enjoying each other and exploring new activities outside of your comfort zone. You may even be married to someone whose idea of fun and enjoyment is staying home and cuddling on the couch with a movie. Don't belittle what brings them peace and joy. Be a part of their joy, and they will be a part of yours. It's a process. Go to neither single nor divorced nor struggling marriage for guidance, opinions, or advice on keeping and improving your marriage. Some of the best advice I ever received in the early years of my marriage was given to me in the form of a question by my dearly departed uncle. Would you go to the poor man on the corner to seek advice on becoming or staying rich? Well, of course not, was my answer. Then why do you keep allowing an unmarried woman to influence the way you view your marriage and the way you choose to react to your husband? What is a wise versus unwise association, and how do we determine who is safe and positive to keep around as friend? Good friends add value to our lives. It is crucial on our marriage journey to be able to identify the types of people we engage and interact with on a regular basis. Friends and associates can either add to or subtract from your marriage equation, leaving you and your spouse in the positive or in the negative. If a person's conversation with you about your marriage and your spouse is not encouraging, positive, and uplifting, you have to determine if they are sincerely trying to save you from a dangerous or self-destructive situation, or if they are projecting their own bitterness onto your relationship. The first air of caution is the relationship status of the friend or associate. As previously mentioned, consider the knowledge level of your source. Are they in a committed, legally documented, and ever-improving marriage? Or are you taking advice from a third-time divorced or single person who can't keep a mate? Birds of a feather flock together. So always look to improve your flock. If your friends aren't steps ahead in any areas you are pursuing, it's time to look for new friends. We are often held back by the ties that bind us to our emotional bonds of relationships that don't benefit. There is always a give and a take, but if you are only giving or only taking, there is definitely a strain, no matter what nature of relationship it may be. A boss that always has to give you a task to do or a solution to every challenge, a spouse that only makes sacrifices for the other spouse who never compromises, a child on the playground who never shares the only swing. All of these are one-way relationships that do not bring promotion, joy, or fun to anyone. It is said that one bad apple ruins the whole bunch. It is extremely important to take note that the apples in your bunch play an important role in your ability to either reach your goals in life or to cause one to fall from the tree, infested with worms, rolling downhill out of the orchard and into a pile of other rotting apples, where you will be devoured by rot and far departed from the life you really want. Simply put, the kids playing at recess who are getting in trouble are usually playing with other kids who are also getting into trouble. The kids playing productively and enjoying their recess are rarely caught spending their time with the troublemakers. Don't make your own trouble by allowing the wrong types of people to infiltrate your marriage. Marriage can feel like a never-ending recess of fun when returning to the classroom is a positive and anticipated adventure. The line of demarcation between class time and playtime becomes blurred or non-existent when you enjoy your work and your relationships as much as an eager-to-learn second grader. Mentors or mistakes? Peer-to-peer counseling. It is often said that we learn by making mistakes, but this is not the only way. I have experienced something totally different in my own life and witnessed it in the lives of many others. There is something amazing to be said about simply following an instruction as a means of bypassing the pain that comes from making a mistake, called a consequence, which could have been avoided with mentorship. When a child is rebellious or distrusting of a leader or parent, they may touch a hot stove after being told it will burn just to see and experience the pain for themselves. A character flaw indeed. God did not intend for us to experience pain as a sole method for learning and attaining wisdom. In fact, the Creator left with us a detailed list of instructions on how to relate to one another, how to be healthy and prosperous physically, mentally, spiritually, and financially. Unfortunately, a religious filter has been placed over the instructions and has led us to believe that we have been separated from these instructions by the death and resurrection of the Messiah, when in actuality, Yeshua, the Messiah, offered himself up that we, humanity, may have renewed access to those principles and instructions that allow us to live as kings and queens right here, right now, on earth. We should not be waiting to die to experience heaven in our lives and in our marriages. Do we then overthrow the law, instruction, by this faith? By no means. Instead, we uphold the instruction. Romans 3:31. The heavens are the Lord's, but the earth he has given to the human race. Psalm 115, verse 16. My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. John 17, verses 15 and 18. Mistakenly, many of us have followed a new doctrine that has led us away from the founding principles that blessed our country with wealth and success in the first place. The principles that related us to and reminded us of our connection and acknowledgement of one God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Slavery and racism were an abomination, and I am not including that as a part of the positive reflection on how our country came to be. More important to note that anyone who studies their Bible knows that slavery was not condoned as a means to controlling, abusing, and demeaning a race of people, or any single person for that matter. The unfortunate misrepresentation of those who choose to use the Bible as a condoning text for their desire to control and abuse others has taken its toll on generations of people. The entire purpose of the Bible's message is to free people from slavery. We are slaves to incompetence because we are not aware of how much we do not know, and because of how much of what we base our lives on was text taken out of context. My people shall suffer from a lack of knowledge. Jesus. Other versions say people will die from a lack of knowledge. If we all were aware of the things we could be doing to improve our lives and our relationships, we would all be wealthy. Sadly, more of us are suffering because we don't know what we should and could be doing differently to lead more fulfilling lives. Harmony exists when all parts of a machine are well oiled and complementing one another. If you can say that you are healthy in fullness, you can say that you are well balanced in every area of your life and one is not taking away from the other. Your wife understands marriage roles from the perspective of the Creator, so you aren't being grilled about being a workaholic, and she is only counting the blessings of having a providing mate. Your husband understands that love is slow to anger, so he is extremely patient with you as you learn to be a better and ever-evolving wife and mother. And you aren't getting yelled at for having less knowledge and understanding than him. And the list of solutions to our quarrels goes on and on. Mistakes can be avoided if we are more willing to seek instruction from those who have already learned the lesson and experienced the pain. More often, we are more willing to guess or do what feels right than to study an issue or seek mentorship and wise counsel before we make a decision. At a certain maturity, we should desire to avoid the pain of bumping your head when you could have ducked and avoided the brick wall. Humility and humbleness are before success, but pride and haughtiness are always before a fall. I was always intrigued by the concept of peer-to-peer counseling when I reached high school. I had never seen a system where students could seek advice and leadership from other students. The concept here in our marriages is that you don't necessarily have to go far to find the information you need to improve your relationships. What we need to grow is always within reach. It is just a matter of seeing the opportunity and the right people to help, or being blinded by our own shortcomings and flaws to the point that we never see the growth opportunities placed in our paths. For this commandment which I command you this day, it is not hidden from you, neither is it far off. It is not in the skies, so that you would say, who will go up to the sky and bring it to us, and cause us to hear it so that we could do it? Neither is it beyond the sea, that you should say, who will go over the sea for us and bring it to us, and cause us to hear it so that we could do it? Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 11 through 13, and Romans chapter 10, verses 7 and 8. Here is a list of common examples that keep us from seeing the opportunities that are in front of us. I call them blind spots. And blind spots are dangerous because they can cause crashes if you move too quickly, or they can keep you from moving at all if you don't understand how they work. Blind spots. Your father is a successful businessman with the information you need to move into the next level of your career. But because he divorced your mother and you are angry, emotion, you miss the opportunity to gain the information needed to promote yourself. Because you are angry, you are blinded from an opportunity through a person you have access to. Blind spot. You were abused as a child, and as an adult, you choose not to trust people, and you leave walls up that keep you from experiencing true love. Blind spot. You grew up in a racist area or time, and now you need something like a promotion at work. But because your boss is of a race you distrust, you are not able to nourish the relationship to a necessary level to open the right doors of opportunity. Blind spot. Your family member has been married for 2 decades, but because you have a lack of respect for them due to your level of familiarity with them, you don't want any advice from them. Jesus said to them, a teacher is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives, and in his own home. He could not do any miracles there except lay his hands on a few sick people and heal them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. Mark chapter 6, verses 4 through 6. Blind spot. You are familiar, or so you think, with the state you grew up in, so you are sure that you can only be happy in a new place. And instead of taking full advantage of everything your current position or location has to offer, you move and start over, losing valuable connections and time invested. This scenario also links with people who bounce around from one intimate relationship to another, and people who move from job to job. All relationships are the same. What you put in is what you get out. I encourage you now to do a homework assignment. Make a list of blind spots in your life and work on removing the fear, prejudices, and choice of making mistakes instead of choosing mentorship. Knowing our weaknesses so that we may improve is just as important as writing down and listing out our goals. Seek counsel in everything you do, and you will experience less pain if you follow good instruction, rather than conducting your life and the lives of your children like a chemistry class experiment. Surround yourself with positive marriages. If you don't know of any in your circles, then reading the right books is the next best investment of your time to gain the knowledge to apply in your relationships. If you notice, I keep using the plural relationships. This is because my goal in this book is to teach that all relationships are the same. If you apply the principles of how you would treat your boss, college professor, or pastor to your spouse, you can resolve issues civilly, respectably, and productively. By the end of 2nd grade, students should understand the relationship of numbers. enjoying the lessons of classroom life and recess, adding and subtracting your values will allow you to add positive flow into your marriage. Subtract distractions, unwise associations, and troublemakers. Choose wise counsel to direct you through the obstacles of life and marriage that you may enjoy the journey en route to your destination, all the while working to maintain decent grades. This has been Chapter 4, 2nd grade. Thank you for listening, and tune in for Chapter 5, 3rd grade.